Hi, I'm Norm Stevens, Economic Development Manager, and joining me today is Councilor Gillespie. Thank you for joining me. Last month, the city started a new series where I updated the authority on current and future economic development efforts in Broken Arrow. One of the main topics this month is discussing the misconception of how much money and resources have been spent developing North Broken Arrow compared to South Broken Arrow. You know, shortly after you were elected onto the council, and you've been, about 14 months?
Yep, right at that.
You came and I had the opportunity to sit down with you and tell you a little bit about myself and learn a little bit about you. And what struck me almost immediately is the tremendous passion that you have for South Broken Arrow. I know that you live in South Broken Arrow, you represent that part of our city, and you daily hear the concerns about the lack of retail opportunities in the south part of our city. And I imagine you also hear that we as in the city, focus a lot of our attention, maybe more so to the north than the south. Is that anything that you hear regularly?
Oh, only every day, probably.
I understand.
And you know, what's funny is I actually grew up in North Broken Arrow and I lived in North Broken Arrow, but I think what happens is people remember, and I remember, the South Broken Arrow that was.
Right.
And some of the things that were there that aren't there now. And so, you know, I can understand some of that misconception, and hopefully we're getting the word out so we can just educate everyone on what we are doing for South Broken Arrow, and because we want that vibrancy and, you know, something new and even better for South BA.
You know, and there's no way that anyone can or even should probably know about all that is going on with the council and city staff on the efforts going towards making South Broken Arrow what the people down there want it to be. But it's almost like the proverbial duck who looks real calm on top and is going crazy under the water. And I would imagine, and I certainly don't want to put words or thoughts into your mind, but I would imagine that when you got dealing with city administration daily, you saw, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right, and luckily, before I decided to run for council, I had gone to all those meetings that we were having about what is now called New Orleans Square, and so I went to every single meeting there was, and so I already knew probably more than just everyday Broken Arrow person everything that was going on, but not everything.
Right.
And so, like you said, there is a lot going on behind the scenes that sometimes we just can't talk about because that's not our place. You know, when there's businesses that are planning things, it's not our place to tell somebody that that's happening. But, you know, we want to really bad. But I'm a sales rep, so I know I don't count anything until it is a done deal.
Absolutely.
And so there are some things going on that we're pretty excited about, but we can't reveal yet.
Part of our presentation tonight is going to be featuring Mr. Steve Yoder, who works for our TED team, our Tourism and Economic Development team. And he is going to be talking specifically about New Orleans Square. Now, I know for the last 13 months, you've sat on a committee that is specifically looking at New Orleans Square and what can be done to breathe life back into that area. Something you may or may not know, in my past life here at the city, I retired from the police department, and New Orleans Square was part of my district for many years that I patrolled, and so I saw what it was. I saw what was vibrant. How has that affected you as a South Broken Arrow citizen, seeing kind of what has gone on in the New Orleans Square and what you see that is taking place to try to revitalize it?
And you know, it is very frustrating when you see businesses leave, and especially large businesses that you didn't know were leaving. And that as a citizen and as a part of the city now, it is very frustrating. But what's exciting even more is to see some things that are happening that I talked to someone today that's a developer, and just to know there's some things that are happening. I said, can I say there's something coming, but not really, you know, any details? And he was like, oh yeah, sure. Right. So, you know, it's fun to know that we can make it different and we can even make it better. And those big box grocery stores and other type of stores just aren't what's happening now in the world. And so we have to get a little more, a little more creative in thinking about what can we bring to this corridor that is going to stay and is going to be successful, because we don't want businesses to be there just for the sake of filling in a spot.
Right.
We want to make sure that we have things that last.
Well, Councilor Gillespie, when you're talking to the people in South Broken Arrow and really all over Broken Arrow, how much time do you put in trying to convince them or to encourage them that as we get the existing shopping options in South Broken Arrow, how important it is that they support those? I know you're very close to the ownership of Oasis Grill, and a wonderful place to eat, but it really is necessary for people to support that locally family-owned business.
Absolutely, and I talk about that all the time because I know it's very simple. I mean, it would be easier for me to drive west. I'm thinking about my directions, to drive west over to Bixby or the Memorial area, because I live closer to that area. But what I have found is I can still shop in Broken Arrow. I can do delivery. Even from North Broken Arrow stores if I want to. If I still want to shop at Reese's, I can do delivery from there. But I shop at Walmart still, and I can get delivery from there, and I can shop there. And
you said something, and forgive me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
We were in a Zoom call together earlier this week, and one of the things you said is you said in that Zoom call, you said, I represent South Broken Arrow, and I'm unapologetic about that. It really is a passion for you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I am very loyal to if I say something, I stick to my word as much as I can. And sometimes things come along that you didn't know before, and so when you know better, you do better.
Right.
But I am loyal to what I say, and I will go down like saying, this is what I believe in. And sometimes I may not be as eloquent in the way that I say things, but that doesn't take away the passion and the love for the city, and not really for just the ground that the city is on, but for the people and our citizens in BA. I care about them, and I want us to stay here. And honestly, I have a daughter and a grandson, and I want them to stay here. And so the more that we have for them, the more likely they are to stay. And because I'd hate to have to move away to follow my grandson.
I agree. I'm in the same place you are.
Yeah.
Councilor Gillespie, thank you so much for taking this time to sit down with me and share your thoughts about what is going on with City Council, about the presentation that was given, and also about all the great things that are going on in South Broken Arrow.
Yes, and there are more things going on just to the south of New Orleans Square too, so we're excited about all of it.
Very much so. Due to all the great feedback, we decided to pull that section of the video and share it directly with you. Here's the clip. Number 3 is the city has invested significantly more financial resources in North Broken Arrow than they have in South Broken Arrow. And I can't begin to sit here and tell you that there hasn't been more resources put in North Broken Arrow than South Broken Arrow, just to the fact that it is built out more. But that does not mean that South Broken Arrow has not had a tremendous amount of resources put in it. I want to give a little just quick background, because people who have not been in Broken Arrow for a long period of time think that North Broken Arrow and all the development they see just always was. And that's not the case at all. That's not the case in the least. Until 1995, there was little to no development north of the Broken Arrow Expressway. In 2005, Bass Pro opened in the Stonewood Hills development. The result of this regional draw was moving the retail focus from New Orleans and Elm to the north portion of the city. The south loop of the Creek Turnpike opened on August 15, 2001, and Walmart Supercenter opened on South Elm in 2002, which added to the retail migration to southern Broken Arrow away from the New Orleans Square area. The city has invested, or will soon invest, and this is very, very important that everyone listen to this. The city has invested or will soon invest over $61,745,000 in South Broken Arrow. $44,085,000 towards transportation, $8,500,000 in public safety, $9,160,000 in utilities. Now you're saying, or some of the people may say, well, how does that add up to economic development? If it's not safe, if there's not public safety, if there's not fire stations there close, businesses aren't going to put in multi-million-dollar locations. If the roads are not wide enough, if the infrastructure is not there, if the water lines are not there, if the sewer is not there, they're not going to open up a sound mind behavioral center. They're not going to open up large apartment complexes to add to the density. So all that is going in is creating the environment. And that's going to just really segue into our next part, is creating the environment for economic development in South Broken Arrow. Thanks for watching. To view the entire recording of the August presentation, go to brokenarrowok.gov/TED.